What's going on, everyone? This is Matt from Sen Theory once again. I've been in the motorcycle industry professionally for over 4 years now. I fit well over 1,000, if not a couple thousand people with helmets at this point. And today I want to give you a few tips for how to get a really well-fitting helmet. So maybe you haven't been fitted before, maybe you're a new rider, or maybe you're just looking for something more comfortable, maybe there's pressure points. These tips are gonna help you navigate that space a little bit better. This is not gonna guarantee that you get the right helmet unless I'm actually with you. I can't guarantee it's the right helmet, but this is way better than starting off on a blank slate. So first things first, you wanna go into a shop and try these on. Even if you have to drive an hour or two, at least do it once. Try on different helmets, try on different brands. They all fit a little bit differently. I don't ever recommend buying blind online. That's just not how you're gonna get the best fit, and it's not how you're gonna find the safest helmet that works for you. While I was editing this, I realized that now would also be a really good time to mention that you should not rely on tape measures. And the reason I say this is because you could take your measurement and you could have your measurement and think that you're ready to order a helmet or that you know what you're doing, but the problem is, what shape is your head, right? This is not changing the circumference, but it's drastically changing shape. So, if your head's shaped more like this and we put you in a helmet that's shaped more like that, it's not the right helmet, even though this circumference hasn't changed at all. So you really need to go in the stores, try them on, and see what fits best on your head. And try to have an open mind with different brands. A lot of them get marketed heavy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna work for you. You need to have an open mind of finding a helmet that fits you. So first thing I'm gonna do is you go try on a helmet. Keep in mind that it's gonna be kind of tight and it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get on. And the reason for that is because you don't want a helmet that's also easy to get off. If it's too easy to get on, it's too easy to get off. It might fly off your head in the event of a wreck. So keep in mind that a new helmet, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get on, and it needs to be a little bit tight. It needs to have space to break in. All helmets will break in and shape to you to some extent, so it should be pretty snug. They need to be snug all the way around the head. So when you first pick up a helmet, what you need to do is take these straps right here, so take the chin straps and open up that helmet. This is going to help get the cheek pads away so that you can get your head inside there. I see a lot of people, they'll just plop it on their head and it's like too difficult to get on, so they just move on to the next helmet. It's not what you want to do. You don't push it from the top. Take the straps, open it up, and then you can put your head in. So once it's on, leave on the strap for a minute, and there's a few things that you need to be able to check. The first things first, and this helmet almost checks all of them, but we're gonna talk about why it doesn't fit here in just a moment. First thing come first, when you put the helmet on, you want to make sure there's about 2 finger spacing above your eyebrow in the trim of that helmet. This is indicating 2 things. This is indicating how far your head went in that helmet. So if you put a helmet on and it comes right down to your eyebrow, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the wrong helmet. 9 times out of 10, it's too big. That 1 time out of 10 is just maybe somebody put it on, they kind of put it on a little too low. But most of the time that indicates the helmet is way too big and you need to move down a size or move to a different helmet. And the other thing we're ensuring here is making sure that you can see, because if your helmet is all the way down here and you lean forward, it's gonna cut off your vision. And even if you're not on a sport bike and you're not leaning forward all the time, I've still met people who have had helmets that were here and they broke in and they complained that they had trouble with keeping it above their eyes. It kept coming down and trying to block their vision. So it is so important that sits a little bit higher up on the forehead. I always think of this is the eye port, so your eyes should be centered in that port. So that's the first thing, 2 finger spacing above the eyebrow. Second thing I'm gonna look for is good pressure on the cheeks. Should almost feel like you're biting your cheeks when you talk in a new helmet, because again, it has to break in, so it's gotta be tight out of the box. Otherwise, it's not gonna form to you. So 2 finger spacing above the eyebrow, good pressure on the cheeks. Next thing I check is for gaps. So if there's any visible gaps, I try to spot those. You can't always see them though. That's the tricky part, and that's what we're gonna get to in just a moment here. So check for gaps, because again, if you watched my last video, the whole purpose of a helmet is spreading out the impact over a surface area and then also slowing it down with the impact liner. So if your head's not filling in the whole helmet, it's not maximizing the surface area that impact can spread across. It's gonna direct it into potentially one or only two spots. So you wanna make sure there's no gaps. The last thing I'll check is how much space is in front of the chin bar. If it's too close, take a face plant. It's not gonna end well, it's gonna go right in your face. You don't want a helmet that can easily break your nose and knock teeth out. And by the way, these tips are for street helmets as well, so it's all helmets. So just because I have adventure helmets here doesn't mean it doesn't apply if you're getting, a road helmet or a strictly off-road helmet. It's all the same checks that you want to look for a fitment. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this helmet on and show you real quick. So you can see, now that I have it on, about 2 finger spacing above my eyebrow. Awesome. There's good pressure on my cheeks here. That also checks out. No visible gaps, and there's good space in front of my face. So why isn't this helmet a good fit? Well, we're gonna want to do a roll test. So the way I describe it to people is just put your chin up a little bit, just look up just a little bit. You don't have to do this or anything crazy, just supported, and then push on the back of the helmet like this. And if it rebounds, then you're good. But if it does this, that's not good. That is a helmet that could come down and break your nose or fly off in a wreck. And the reason this helmet moves so much is because, again, there's a gap in there. This helmet is wider than my head. Most companies will take one shape and they'll mass produce it on a big scale. It's the most efficient way to make a helmet. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not knocking them for that, but it's just to understand that that doesn't mean it's gonna fit you. You need to find a brand that made the shape closest to your head so you can maximize that surface area inside that helmet. So this is a helmet that does fit me. I did have to make some modifications on it, which I'll talk about in a minute. Basically, different cheek pads and interior liner. Arai offers an array of different options to customize that, but let's throw this helmet on and see how this checks out. So once again, you want to pull the straps apart, that way you can get your head in. Pull them apart, pull down, and there we are. Again, good spacing above the eyebrow, about 2 fingers, eyes centered in the port, good spacing in front of my mouth, good pressure on the cheeks, and then if I do this, a lot of resistance, and then it rebounds. I cannot get this helmet to rotate down my face the same way the bell did, and that's even after it broke in. And that's what you want to look for in a proper fitting helmet. 2 fingers spacing above the eyebrow, good pressure on the cheeks, good spacing in front of your mouth, and it shouldn't rotate. This is telling me that in the event of a wreck, this helmet should stay in place, hopefully. And it's also going to maximize that surface area to spread that impact out. And then once you've gone through these 4 checks, you can go ahead and put on the strap and make sure it's comfortable. The strap should actually be a secondary retention mechanism. Should never really be the thing that keeps the helmet on you. The fitment is really what should keep that helmet secure. Again, the strap, secondary retention. You gotta think about it, the helmet's too big and it moves and it just hits the strap, that's just gonna basically choke you. So you don't want that. You want a helmet that'll fit, strap would be secondary. So moving on to a couple mistakes I see people make when they try on helmets. First one's gonna be pressure points. A lot of people will feel pressure points and think that they need to go up to a bigger size. And a pressure point really means that you should probably go to a different helmet. It means your head hasn't filled in the helmet properly, that there's probably space in there, which means that the helmet could move or put a lot of force in one localized spot on your head, which is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to spread that impact out. And we're also trying to avoid, secondary impacts, shifts, or the helmet flying off entirely. So it needs to check all those things. 2 finger spacing above the brow, good pressure on the cheeks, good spacing above in front of the mouth, and past that roll test, make sure you can't get that down to your eyebrow below when you push up on the back of the helmet. Now, if you push hard enough on any helmet, obviously it's going to move, it's going to come off, but that's not the point. You just want to make sure that your head's filling it in properly and there's enough friction to hold it in place. Should be grabbing your scalp grabbing your face and then rebounding. It shouldn't just be slipping all over the place. So, yep, pressure points indicate go to a different helmet, because that helmet's probably just going to put all that force in one localized spot or two spots, and it's not going to be secure. The other common mistake I see people make is maybe they have a really wide jaw, or they have a narrow jaw. Usually it's the wider jaw. I'll put somebody in a helmet, cheek pads feel too tight, so they go up a size. In that case, that's not always the move, because having a wide jaw doesn't mean the top of your head is also large. So sometimes that just means you need to go to a helmet with a thinner cheek pad. The Arai, you can customize them. Sometimes when I'm fitting straight helmets, for example, I know that like the HJC i10 has thicker cheek pads than something like the Scorpion 430 or 330. So if somebody's having that problem in the i10 from HJC, I move them over to a Scorpion, and usually it's enough to relieve those cheek pads. So again, keep trying on different brands, see what fits for you, and try your best not to compromise. Try to make sure it checks all these boxes and that's comfortable. The best helmet is also typically going to be the most comfortable, because it's, again, making full contact with your head. So it's not going to form any pressure points, and even after it does break in, it's not going to move like crazy. The other problem with pressure points is once those pressure points break in and loosen, the rest of the helmet's not really secure. So it tends to move around a lot more than if you had a helmet that doesn't have pressure points. Every once in a while, I'll find somebody who's having trouble finding a helmet that fits their head properly. They don't want to go up to the premium price to get the customization. So sometimes you can figure out different cheek pad sizes you can get based on the size of the helmet. What I mean by that is if you physically pick up the helmets, or if you're looking like a catalog, if medium, for example, has a thinner cheek pad than the large, that means that there was probably a shell cut off. If you can figure out at what sizes they change the shell size, sometimes you can figure out what cheek pads and interiors you can swap to make that helmet customizable. But that's very difficult to do. Sometimes it's very hard to figure out. So again, the moral of the story here is just keep trying on different helmets until you find something that works for you. Make sure to check these boxes. Again, I cannot guarantee this is going to get you the best helmet or the perfect helmet or the safest helmet without actually being there with you to make sure it checks all these boxes. But the more that we can educate people about fitment, the better off everybody's going to be. And hopefully this will help you go in with at least an idea of what to look for. Thank you for watching. Once again, this is Scent Theory. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. Once again, my name is Matt. This is Scent Theory, and I will see you in the next video.